Well, hello everybody. I'm Waldemar Miguel, and here I am again, just talking about my medical condition called end-stage renal disease. And I just wanted to show you guys exactly what is it that I do every day at home, dialysis, peritoneal dialysis, and really just all that it implies. And so here I have all the supplies behind me. And so I got my my CAPD machine on the left side. It looks like a printer, like an old printer kind of. And then I got my my cassette, where all the tubing basically. Then I got my drain bags next to that, right here. It's my drain bags. And then behind that, I have some gauze, which I use to clean the actual catheter that I have in my belly. And then I have this is what I used to clean it with, which is the actual disinfectant. Then here I have some hand sanitizer. And then over here, there's a bag that I use to do my manual treatments, not using the machine. I do those using the IV pole that I have over here. And then next to this small bag, I have the larger bags, the ones that I use for the machine at night. And so these two here are green, and then this is yellow, and this is red, just different strengths. And then up here, this here is my chart where I write down all my blood pressures, all my numbers that I get from the machine. This is where I write down my weight, and this is where I take down all that information, and it just helps the nurses and the doctors keep track of how you're doing. And then over here, these are flexi caps. These I found to be very useful because you can disconnect yourself from the machine in the middle of therapy, which is great. And of course, the mini caps, nurses are always talking about that, very important. And then over here, I have a couple of blood pressure machines. So real quick, I just wanted to explain then what I do. And basically, any given day, let's say this morning, I wake up and I disconnect from the machine. I had just finished therapy, and I have to clean up the mess that I made, I guess, from all the tubings and all that. Basically, the way it looks like, and I have this cassette here, and all these tubes will be laying on the ground, and so you have to clean that up. And so you could do one of two ways. See, when you use a drain bag like this is what I use. And this drain bag extends out into the floor. You just put it on the floor, and all the fluid that's filtering through your body goes into this drain bag, and and it stays there. And so you have to dispose of it afterwards. So if you use a drain bag, then what you can do is, what I have done is I get a table like this, somewhat. It's just like a dinner table, but I don't use it for that. I set it right in front of the toilet, like that, and then I put my drain bag, once it's full, already on top of it, and then it has like a little cap here where it all drains nicely into the toilet. And then once it's all done, I flush the toilet, and I take this out, and I'm done. Another way you can do it, if you have not the drain bag, but you have what it is like a tube that goes directly from the machine, and it's a really long tube, and you're supposed to either put it in a toilet or in a tub. Now, I found out that only works best if you have like a master bedroom where the bathroom is in the bedroom itself. That way you can just that tube will be long enough. Hopefully your bathroom or your bedroom is not extremely large, but it should be long enough to reach into your bathroom, and you can put it in your toilet or in your tub. And so that works well only that way. And I knew, because I was living in a house like that. Now it's not that way, so a drain bag works better for me now. So I clean all that up. Now, depending on what color of solution I did over here, I'll get to that in a little bit. Depending on what I use there and how I feel, if I feel dehydrated, or depending on what I ate, if I ate something salty or something like that, and I know I have a lot of fluid in me, or just depending on what's going on during the day, then I'm going to do what we call as a midday exchange, one of the smaller bags, like this one, and I usually just I heat it up in the same machine, which is over here. I heat it up on the same machine right here. I just, I set it down there like that, and then I turn it on, and it heats up the bag, and it takes about, it takes about a good 20 minutes. So you can just kind of leave that heating and go do something else, come back, and it's ready for you. Once that's ready, then I use my IV pole over here, and you hang the bag up here, and then you can do your midday exchange that way, which is what I do during the day. I do this around 3 or 4 o'clock, and what that does, it provides extra dialysis for me, extra cleaning, so I feel better. It just makes you feel better, and you just have to make a habit of it. Like, look at the time. Okay, I have to do it. Let me just do it right away. So there's that, and that works good for if till you can feel better, basically. So once I do that, it's very important that you wash your hands before you even do any of this. Like when you do your midday exchange, you gotta wash your hands with the soap. Baxter actually provides a free antimicrobial soap that you can get. I don't have it here with me, but I do have the hand sanitizer, which this is like my best friend. I use this every single time I do a therapy. Before I even touch anything, I put my hands with this. If I don't have time to wash my hands, I do this. Even if I did wash my hands, I still do this. I mean, me and this guy are very close. This one, like I said earlier, is a disinfectant, so I used to clean the catheter with it. It's like bleach, so whenever you do this, I always like to have a white towel handy. I just clean my hands on that real quick so I don't get any bleach on anything else. So just be careful with that. And this is the gauze, sterile gauze, that Baxter also provides, so you can ask for them. Ask them for that. So, I get my hands clean, and I do all that, and I make sure it's all sterile. Okay, so, that's for your hands. You got to keep your hands clean, and once you clean your hands, then you begin doing your therapy, and so you get your solution. Again, depending on how you feel, it's either going to be green, yellow, or red. Red being the strongest. So if you have too much fluid in your body, then you want to do a red one. If you're dehydrated, you want to do a yellow one. If you feel maybe just right, then you want to do a green one. So this is a green one, and you just hang it up here, and first you got to drain. Once you drain, then you do the actual procedure that you were trained by your nurses, and then they're actually going to train you in case you haven't done it yet. And then once you drain, then this will actually start filling up into you just by the power of gravity, right? The gravity will do that. One important note, I remember when I first started doing these treatments, these ones using an IV pole, I didn't know that it was going to cause a lot of pain if you raise this up higher. This moves up like this. And see, when you put the bag up here, the higher you put it, the faster the fluid will go into you. Now, when I first started doing this, I had it up really high. Now, you can't see how high that is, but it's really high. And what that does is it puts it in faster, and that hurts if you're not, especially if it's your first time trying this out, at home. And I know for me, it was very painful. So just know that if you're going to do this, start low like this and let it, fill once you get into your filling stage. When you're draining, the same rule applies. You can be sitting down. If you're sitting down in a really low chair, then you're going to be draining real slow. It's not going to be very painful, actually, But if you sit like on a high stool, it's going to hurt more. It's not going to hurt right away, but maybe once you're empty, once there's nothing in there, it's going to start to hurt more because there's nothing in there yet. It's pulling. So you'll start to feel the pain. Little pain is normal. You're always going to feel that. But, on your first times, it's probably going to hurt a little more. But, just persevere through that, and, you'll get used to it. You'll get used to it. So it's definitely, peritoneal dialysis is definitely better than hemodialysis. I've been through hemo, and it's not very helpful. It's not a very fun thing to do. But anyway, so once you do that, then, once you're all done filling, you clamp, you clean up, and then you can drain this. The way I used to do is I just hang the bag here and let it drain out into the tub or the toilet, and then I flush it, and then I'm all done. So that's the midday. So as the day goes on, right, I watch my diet, I take my pills, whatever I got to do. So at night, depending on how I feel, again, I go back to my chart and I say, okay, what was my blood pressure in the morning? This was what it was. What treatment did I do in the day? Okay, I did this. This was my blood pressure during the day. You know, and I look at this and I say, okay. And then I take my weight and my blood pressure again and I write those down over here. You know, and then that will help me make a decision on what color I want to use for the night. You know, and that's very helpful. And not only does it help you that way, but it helps the nurses. So I come over here and I choose, okay, am I feeling dehydrated? I'll do a yellow. Am I feeling like I have too much fluid in me? I'll do a red. You know, and you can interchange. You can do maybe, since I do 2 bags at night, so I can say, okay, I could do 1 green, 1 yellow. You know, or I could do 2 yellows if I'm really dehydrated. Or I could even do 1 red, 1 green. You know, and in each one of these bags, you actually have two of these bags in each. And of course, in here there's 2 yellow ones, and in here there's 2 greens. I'm sorry, 2 reds. So basically, this solution, I'm not entirely sure what it's made of, but on the bag itself, it actually tells you what it has. And I don't know if you can see that, but it gives you a long list. I know it has salt, it has potassium in it, it has you know, it's a long list of, you know, chemicals that it has, and it looks like something I might have seen in my chemistry class in high school, to be honest. So I really don't know what to make of it, but that's really what it is. The most important thing to know on the bag is the strength of it. You know, is it a 2.5, which is green? Is it a 1.5, which is yellow? Or is it a 4.25, which is red? That's really the most important thing you need to know. And then, you know, that way you can know what to do. So at night, once I know what to do, if, you know, last night I did 2 greens. You know, I did 2 greens. So at night what I do is I prepare all my supplies. I gather everything, you know, but before I do that, I wash my hands, of course. I prepare all my supplies. I grab 2 greens. I grab my drain bag. There's two in this, so I take one out. I grab my cassettes, right? And I put all that in a box and I take it to my room. In my room, I have my machine, right, over here. And I turn on the machine. I put the bags over here so they can heat up. Now, the way I do it, this, and I grab this other one, like so. And it's kind of weird, like you kind of have to play with it to make sure it's balanced on there. But if you leave it on there, you can actually walk away, and that'll be heating up as you're doing something else. You know, you can just kind of leave it there early. Let's say you go to sleep at 10, you can leave it at 7, or right after dinner. You know, you can leave it there. Sometimes what I do, if I'm going to go out at night, I leave it right after dinner. I leave it like this before I leave. That way, when I come back, both bags are already warm and ready to go. All I got to do is connect this up, the cassette, and the drain bags. So that's very useful, and that's something that I learned to do. See, if you don't heat them up and you try to get the machine going, what ends up happening is the machine will start running into errors. When the bags are cold and you say, okay, I'm just going to start the machine off, and you start doing it, and then you hit go so that the machine can start pumping it through the pump, it starts to say error, and it says, you know, change the cassette, and it's a very big hassle because then you have to go downstairs and grab a whole new cassette and probably whole new bags, because once you touch it and open it, it's no longer sterile. So you have to start all over again. It's a big hassle. And when you're tired sometimes, and you know you don't want to do it, and you end up just going to sleep without therapy. And I've been there, and it's not a good place to be. So it's important to just make the necessary adjustments you got to make. Leave it prepared early so that when you come home, you know, or when you decide to go to sleep, it's pretty much ready to go. It's warm, so you can just kind of finish up real quick, go to bed, you're done. Now, once that's heating up, you know, you wash your hands, you do whatever you got to do. Once you're ready to connect, or I'm sorry, once you're ready to sleep, what I do is I connect this to here. This opens up like this. There's you can't really see it, but there's like a square plastic here that goes right in here, and all the tubes hang out. And then once you get all that set up, then I have this tube here, or this belt, I'm sorry. Now this belt is very useful. One of my nurses gave it to me at my dialysis center, and down here I have my catheter. This is my catheter that I have, and it just goes into my belly, and that's always here, by the way. It never goes away. But it's not a big deal, really. It's just kind of a part of you now, you know, and you just adjust. It's not painful or anything. The only thing is that, of course, this has to be sterile also before you do your treatment. That's what the gauze is for, that I mentioned earlier, and the cleaner, the high disinfectant cleaner, just like bleach. So that's kind of what we clean this with before we connect. But this belt, what it is, you know, you just kind of put it around you. What I do is I put it underneath my shorts that I sleep in, right? And this would go in here. What this does is, when this catheter goes into here like this, if for any reason you're sleeping at night and you're one of those people that like to move around a lot while you sleep, this is to prevent you from pulling on this, you know, because if you pull on that, then that hurts. That does hurt, and that would definitely wake you up in pain. You don't want that. So that's why I use this belt. It's a good thing to have. You can ask your nurses about it. I'm sure they know, or they might even have a shirt that also has some kind of like a pouch on it for the catheter, and that's good to use. That's very good to use. I definitely use that. Now, once you get all that going, again, you do the machine and then you connect. I wanted to show really quick the blood pressure machine that I use. This is just a regular blood pressure monitor. Runs on batteries. It's portable because it runs on batteries. This one is actually better than this other one here. This one is a portable wrist blood pressure machine, and I found these to be useful, but they're not as accurate. One, two, they go bad on you. So it's better to have the other one on hand, this one here, and you could just kind of like, you know, check your blood pressure in your car if you're out somewhere, and make sure you get some batteries for it. So that way it can be portable. And so that's pretty much all I do. This is my daily thing. At night, you know, again, once I connect, then I'm ready to go, and I sleep. You know, and really the only real complication here that most people are afraid of is infection. You know, most people are afraid of infection, you know, because the nurses do talk about that, and that's why it's important to use, you know, the actual hand sanitizer that Baxter provides, or really any hand sanitizer would work. But you know, always clean your hands, and then also the bleach that Archivist, which Baxter also provides. And so just, you know, follow the procedure. You know, keep your hands clean, keep the area clean. No pets, you know, no kids running around in there that might be, you know, touching things, you know, things like that you have to be real careful with. And you know, I've had peritonitis, the infection that you get once, you know, and you got to watch for the cloudy bag. If the fluid in the bag is cloudy, then that's how you know. Or if you're getting symptoms like nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. But you know, luckily we caught it early, so there wasn't any big deal on that. Finally, I just wanted to briefly touch on these things here. The FlexiCaps. These are probably the most useful things I think I can use here, because the therapy takes 9 hours, and so in the middle of the night, if you need to use the restroom or anything like that, you know, what are you going to do? You know, if you're not close enough to a bathroom, you won't reach the bathroom, right? So this is very awesome, because you can disconnect yourself from the machine using this FlexiCap. The same way the mini cap is for your catheter. This here is actually the mini cap, the very tip of it. The same way that goes onto there, the FlexiCap goes on the tube on the machine. So everything will stay sterile, you know. And it's very important for things to stay sterile. So, you know, you could actually pause the machine. You could hit stop in the middle of a drain or a fill, and go to the restroom, or go get something to eat, whatever you want to do. So it's very helpful to get those Flexa caps. I recommend those. Baxter, just ask Baxter, and they have those. So that's really pretty much what I do every day. And of course, in my other video, you should check it out. I talk about my testimony, about really what God has done through this ordeal that I go through on a daily basis, and just on a more broader scale, what God has done in my life through this kidney failure condition. You should check that out. I have that video also. But God has really taught me discipline through all of this that I have to do. And it's really it's a habit that you have to make, a discipline that you have to make. But it's worth it. Once you really get it right and tweak it just right, then you'll start to feel better. And so I recommend it. And I hope this video has been a help if you're thinking about doing peritoneal, or if you just started, or if you're just curious. And thanks for watching.